Welcome to the Washdown Podcast, and this will be episode 163. Chris and I had a great conversation, so hope you guys enjoy it. And so, yeah, here you go, episode 163 of the Washdown Podcast.
Every
Yeah.
year. It's like I just don't want bronchitis again.
Oh,
But what do I know? I don't know my body or how I get ill because the doctors know more than I do about my own body and what I go through every fucking year.
yeah, I get that. I mean, that's what it ended up for me was bronchitis.
Yeah.
That's why whenever we did the episode with Elliot and I'm fucking back there hacking up a lung, trying to stay away from the microphone.
So I look forward to hearing about a week or so using some sick time because, you know, I did my due diligence. I went to the doctor. Like, well, we'll have to wait and see. I'm like, oh, you're a wait and see kind of guy.
Well, I mean, if you can't fix it right now, then what else are you going to do? You're just going to sit and wait.
Yeah, that's why I don't change my oil when it says 0%. Like, no. We're not there yet.
You should change your oil before it gets to 0%.
Yeah, right about 10.
Well, I don't know how accurate the percentage thing is on the cars anyway, but I mean,
I don't know. I know you don't have to change your oil every 3,000 miles either.
no, I don't subscribe to that either. So I think 5, and depending on what vehicle and what engine you have and what type of oil you use, I mean, sometimes it's fine to go 10,000 miles.
I mean, I'm usually between 5 and 7.
Yeah.
That takes me a year.
Not me. For whatever reason, I seem to drive a lot. So, oh, and I guess we had talked about it. We're gonna just own it right out of the gate. Since it's just me and Chris today, just me and you, and I don't want to sit behind the computer, and you don't want to sit behind the computer.
No.
We're trying to do this with me switching the camera angles from in front. And you know how
Clicky.
like 10 years ago or whatever, you had like 15 mouse pads laying around your house? Well, guess what? I have 0 mouse pads. So my mouse isn't moving quite like it should. So we're using a book and seems to be doing okay right now. But if I mess up the camera angle, fucking deal with it. I mean, that's really all I can say. So we're doing the best we can. And we're not professionals.
You need a remote. Just click, 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 click.
God, that would be awesome
Click, click.
if only they had like a
universal remote.
Well, like something like a video switcher, where it was just one button and
that'd be
it
nice.
went, yeah,
And it was Bluetooth.
yeah, and if only it was, if they had that at like Micro Center, it'd be weird.
You're just making shit up now.
Oh, so anyway, Chris, yeah, what are we going to talk about today? We had a pretty in-depth conversation the other day about education in the fire service, and I know that's the personal soapbox for you.
It can be. Well, not everybody subscribes to it. Experience is the best teacher, which is a good teacher. But so is education. And I'm not talking about just formal education. You don't have to go to college. But there's other ways to educate. Like reading books or reading research that's out there and done by people who are way smarter than us.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm not a fan of generalized things. Like we were talking about go get a business degree and then that's going to help you.
I'm still of the opinion of a business degree will help you.
I totally disagree. And I'll tell you why. And everybody talks about it, the fire department is a business, blah, blah, blah. Well, yes and no. It is, but it is not a typical business. Like there are business aspects to it, like things that can help you. But I think you can get you in just as much trouble trying to run it like a business. because if you start thinking about a fire department as a for-profit or something like, it's not going to be.
No,
It's never going to be. And if you start making decisions for your, that affect policy for your department about, oh, well, we can do this and make money and all this and offset this cost and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's great. It's a great idea. It's a great theory. It's just not practical. It's the good idea fairy, because there's no way, like, having a municipal fire department run transfers with their ambulance service for money. Like, it's a great idea, but whenever you're talking about the call volume,
you have to look at the call volume. But that's where, so when you talk about running it like a business, I'm not talking for profit or trying to make a profit, because you're not. You never will. Police and fire departments don't make profits. They don't. And if they do collect money for, certain things like fines or like speeding tickets or inspections or whatever, that money goes back to the city anyway, in most places.
right?
But when you're dealing with budgets and making sure that you have plenty of money in a savings account, for lack of a better term, because things are going to go bad. You're going to break rigs. You're going to break tools. People are going to get hurt. There's going to be accidents. It's just the reality of it. We drive in every type of weather. Hey, look, there's a tornado coming down the highway. Well, we got to get out there. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not
Or
going to
it's
get in the path, but
yeah.
you know what I'm
Well,
saying.
it's the worst ice storm in 100 years.
Yeah.
Guess who's still driving in it?
Yep. It's the reality of what we do. But, now you're talking, our budget needs to increase 15% because inflation and other things, but you're only going to get 10%. So how do I make that work, and where do I make cuts from? Because you know what the first thing that gets cut is?
Well, training and education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two areas we really shouldn't skimp on. So how do I get this budget and make this work and things like that, where a lot of things you learn in business with a business degree, not everything's going to be applicable, but you also don't know what you're going to do when you retire or anything like that. But there's a lot of stuff that is applicable to the fire service or law enforcement when you're talking about running a department, and you don't know where you're going to end up in your career. If you want to stay a firefighter for 25, 30 years, more power to you, do it. I want you to be happy. But if you start moving up the ranks and you start seeing where you want to make changes, and unfortunately, the lower rank you are, the less people listen to you, which is how a lot of people are built. Something I don't agree with that, but once you start going through the ranks and stuff, things start changing. And part of a business degree is learning a whole lot of HR stuff. Which
Yeah,
HR is a mess. Fucking hate HR.
Hey, let's just be perfectly clear. Like, and these are my feelings on it. HR in the fire service and the police department and the military, you're walking a very slippery slope,
You are.
because it is not. Look, these are safety sensitive jobs, and there are things that are done in these professions that maybe aren't acceptable for corporate America, but they have to get done.
Yeah. We operate in the gray.
Yeah.
Because you have protocols, you have standards, but they don't fit every scenario that you're going to run. And if I'm taking an ass chewing because I fucked up, I probably need an ass chewing because I probably could have gotten hurt or gotten somebody else hurt. And now I know better. It's just an ass chewing. Ain't the first one I ever got in my life, won't be the last.
Yeah.
But now so one thing I learned when you talk about human resources, this is coming from the fire side, because a lot of my classes were fire related, and it's not corporate HR. Human resources is the human component of what you're doing. Now, is there a way to talk to people? Absolutely. Is there a right and a wrong way to chew someone's ass? Oh yeah, unfortunately there is. There's just things you can't say, even though you want to say them. We all do it in our heads. but it's teaching you how to navigate those waters. Because you can't sit in a little classroom for 4 hours or an hour or whatever with your HR manager and then be an expert. You can't sit through an entire 4-year program and be an expert in HR. It's just not going to happen because it's so many gray areas and things are always changing and evolving. But it definitely gives you a good base going forward. And that's really what you're looking for. Because, yeah, you get a good base in the academy, then you go out and you learn, and now you're learning by experience. And that's great. But there's also a lot of science behind what we do. And we got to understand how to read that and where to find it and all of that. And can you do that on your own? Oh, absolutely. But if you want to be taken seriously by politicians and people who fund your department, they don't want to talk to the blue-collar guy. They don't. That's the reality of the world. Like it or hate it, don't care. Reality is what it is. A lot of things I don't like about the world. But if you want to make changes and make your department better, make yourself better, make your crew better, experience is great, but you got to incorporate education as well. And now you're attacking everything from two fronts.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think more education is always great. Unfortunately, I think we focus on the wrong types of things. And
I don't disagree with that.
You're right. Whenever you get to the rank of, let's say, some sort of chief or something, and you're having to interface with politicians and things, it does matter if you've got that worthless piece of paper.
Because it changes their view on you.
Yeah, it changes their view, which, I mean, really that's an indictment of the politicians they're that fucking stupid to think that you can just go sit in a class for 4 years and all of a sudden it makes you better somehow. Or makes you more proficient at your job.
It gives you it backs you up with the credibility, essentially, in a lot of people's eyes. Because now you're becoming that subject matter expert because you have that paper from a university or a college or whatever you want to call it. Where a lot of people won't see you as a subject matter expert if you don't have it. Even though you've been doing this for 30 plus years or 20 plus years or whatever. Just like you got to have, it's a certification to be a medic. It just shows that you've completed this training and that you understand everything about it. I could teach you to be a medic in 30 minutes, but there's a whole lot of science and other stuff behind it that you need to understand. Because you can seriously fuck somebody up with some of the things we do.
Yeah.
Now, so when you go to paramedic school or EMT school, is that training or is that education? It's both.
Right.
So it's using both paths to come into one to make us better and to be able to take care of people better. That's all I'm looking for. Just because you have a degree doesn't make you smarter than somebody that doesn't have a degree. That's a crock of shit. There's smart people and dumb people all over this world.
Well, like one of my favorite sayings recently, remember, 50% of the people are below average intelligence.
Yeah, I've never looked that up.
Well, I mean, it's average intelligence means...
That's just what we see.
Yeah. I mean, and if you think about it, it makes sense. 50% are going to be below that. 50% are going to be above that because it's an average. My blood pressure dropped like 20 points once
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, that makes perfect sense. So I don't have to stress about it because I just figure they're an idiot.
Yeah, Stav's got me on that one. My standards are too high. But there's Charlie Kirk talks about it all the time, and I don't always agree with Charlie. A lot of times I do, but college is a scam.
Oh, it 100% is.
I truly agree with that because you got to take classes that I'm like, this has no bearing on what I'm doing, or what I might be doing. And granted, they don't know what you're going to be doing, but at the same time,
well, now hold on. So you go to college and you're going to get, let's say, I don't know. Let's say you're going to get a business degree, right? Okay. Well, you've got to take basically 2 years of all your prereqs that have no bearing on actual business. And basically they're shit, that's stuff that you took in high school anyway.
Yeah.
your maths, your
So I
sciences,
think,
your histories, all of that bullshit. So you're 2 years into college and probably about $50,000 into debt
depending on where you go,
before you even start with degree or classes towards your major.
yeah.
Like you might have one your freshman year, like intro to whatever and this and that. It's, yeah, you spend half your time in college or 3/4 of your time in college on classes that are not applicable to the field that you're going to be in. And do
So
you
I
know how
think,
many people I know who have gone to college, have got a degree in whatever, and they don't even work in that field because they can't find a fucking job?
yeah, there is that too. I agree. So now when you talk about your prereqs, I think it should be built on the path that you want to be on. So if you want to be a nurse or a doctor or a pharmacist, okay, great. We need to have a strong base in math and science. That should be those are your core classes for that first 2 years. Do you really need to know what happened in ancient Egypt? No, probably not. But should you have a history class on medicine throughout the ages? Yeah, that would be applicable.
Yeah.
So you need to tailor it, and not just go, oh yeah, go take World History 1 or American History 1, which I enjoy those classes. I took American History 1 and 2, loved them, but I like history, so I was okay with that.
Yeah.
Does it really have a bearing on what my degrees are in? No.
Well, they also need to stop offering degrees in completely pointless things.
Yeah, they've been doing that a lot here lately. It's a money grab.
Yeah.
But why are they? So if you are an institution and the government comes and goes, hey, we're going to fund all these people that want to come here at 100%. So you're going to get paid. We don't care what you charge. So what are you going to do? I'm going to make as much money as I possibly can. It's up to you, the consumer, not to buy the product, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking how they're thinking.
Right.
This isn't what I'm saying. This isn't my opinion.
Yeah.
This is what we're seeing.
But I mean, that goes back to that whole thing of vulnerable populations and
Yes.
taking advantage. Because
Yes.
think about it, you're taking advantage of 18-year-old kids who don't know any better. They don't know the paperwork that they're signing for those loans and all of that stuff. They don't understand the implications that has going forward in their life.
And this is where the guidance counselors need to be doing their jobs in high schools. And granted, a lot of students. I understand. I get it. And you can't make everybody pay attention. And when you do your FAFSA forms, you have to go through all of this little quote unquote training. You're supposed to. It's not hard to go scroll, accept.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem because you don't fully understand what you're doing. Granted, I was older, so I already had an understanding, and I read it the first time, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get fucked in the ass. This is gonna be fun. No lube, no spit. Let's get it on. But I also made that decision myself as an adult who understood the implications and what was gonna come at the end. I also know from a little bit of reading that I did, and I don't know how true it is, but I might test the waters, is that if you die with student loans, they just go away.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
I read that
accurate.
on multiple sites.
I believe that probably just gets passed over to whoever gets your estate.
Yeah, that's all going to happen before I die anyway, because fuck the government. Fuck you, YouTube.
Oh,
They've got enough money for me throughout my life. You ain't getting it for me when I die.
yeah. Well, it's still going to get paid. You're still going to pay the death tax. It's going to come out of your estate.
No, just don't claim me. Nothing's in my name when I die.
Put everything in a trust or a living whatever.
Yeah, probably a trust, or I'll just go ahead and transfer it to my son's name well before I die.
Don't take financial advice from us. We are not experts and we do not pretend to be.
Nope. I'm just going to give it a go and see what happens. I'm dead. What are you going to do to me?
Oh, speaking of that, I saw
I
like,
don't know, I'm just talking out of my ass right now. I don't know.
yeah, and we've talked about this before, and I don't even know if I want to get into it again, but there's an account on Instagram, and like for the most part, what the guy posts is pretty good. Um, but he posted something yesterday, and I couldn't resist. I couldn't help myself. I had to respond. I had to put a comment in there, and it was about training and training in your gear. And like, yeah, I am 100%. You need to train in your gear, 100%. But the working out in your bunker gear, what the fuck? Like it, like, and of course, the comment section don't let you like, you're never gonna sway anybody in that or whatever. But like, do these idiots who do this shit and post it on Instagram and TikTok and all this place, like, it really makes me wonder, did they pay attention at all whenever they were going through EMT school or paramedic school? Like, do they not understand what, like, one, what your fire department gear is made of, the vapor barrier in it, how much it causes you to dehydrate yourself? You're going to do these killer workouts on duty. So, I mean, I guess if you like run one call a shift, then cool, yeah, go do it, and you ain't got nothing to worry about. But for people that work in a busy area, like, you're going to knock yourself down to where you pretty much are going to need an IV. Because if you, especially in the spring and summertime in most of the United States, you dehydrate yourself to that point and then you go catch a worker, guess what you're not going to be doing after about 5 minutes? You're not going to be working. You're going to be laid out in the front yard like the big fat turd that you are, because you had to do it for the gram. Like,
No rebuttal. I'm not a fan of working out in your gear. Just go work out normal.
yeah. Not to mention, okay, so you're talking about we got the dehydration issue. Then guess what? Wearing all that gear changes your biomechanics, right? How your joints move, how they're able to move, your range of motion.
Mm-hmm.
So you're upping your potential for injury. You're adding weight to every part of your body. Like, it's just not a good idea.
No argument. If you're looking for one, you ain't going to get one.
Like, I just want somebody to explain it to me.
Well, you should,
Like,
talk to the other people that come on.
maybe I will. Maybe we'll find somebody on Instagram who's doing that and have them on the podcast so they can explain it. And then we can explain, like,
When your gear can only hold so much moisture and heat, even on the inside, it has a limit,
yeah.
and it will fail. Maybe they got a third set of gear. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't get behind it. Not my thing.
I'm all about energy conservation.
Obviously.
Then when it's time to work, we go to work.
Oh, did you hear about the firefighter in LA?
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I did.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, which, I mean, this happened yesterday, I think. A front loader in a quarry, compressed natural gas, running off of that. It was caught on fire, and I guess they were trying to put it out. The thing exploded, killed a firefighter. It's in a quarry.
Ain't going nowhere.
Like, what are we doing?
I'm not going to sit here on Monday morning quarterback that. I'm not.
I mean, I'm not either, but like, it just...
We have different dangers nowadays that we really have to stop and think about before we go rushing in. And that's kind of and I know we've been talking about that for a while, as I know I'm trying not to breathe in the mic because I know I'm breathing heavier than normal.
Pull it up and make it straight towards your mouth. You have to... There you go.
So, I mean, but you got to stop and think about what you're doing before you do it. You don't know. You don't just have gas and diesel cars anymore. You have electric. You have natural gas cars. It's going to change the way things happen. I'm pretty sure they have propane cars.
Yes. Yeah, there are plenty of cars that run off of propane.
Or at least forklifts.
No, they're legit cars because we have them here.
Vegetable oil. Seen that.
Yeah. Like, you really have to pay attention to what's going on. And that's where the continuing education of training comes in, and having a good training department who brings all of that stuff, and officers who will take the time to seek that stuff out of, hey, like, this is the new thing on EVs. This is the new thing with compressed natural gas. This is a new thing with propane. This is these are things to look out for. This is how you recognize it. Like, I was working overtime yesterday and driving the chief around, and we drove up and down looking at a bunch of stuff and happened to see one of the city buses that was an electric city bus. He's like, hey, there's an electric city bus, and this is how you tell. I was like, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it's got a thing on top.
I mean, you got city buses that are diesel, natural gas,
and electric now.
And electric now. And we have a train that's electric.
Mm-hmm. That's what we were looking at. We were looking at all the substations.
Yeah. And yeah, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're expected to respond to all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And to basically be subject matter experts on all of it.
And I'm sorry, in today's day and age, you just can't be. You can try. I'm all for the trying. Let's do it. I'll do it with you. But there's always the unpredictable.
Well,
things always change.
That's why. Did you? I'm sure you've had the elevator class that we had.
Nope. Never
no,
had it.
You haven't. Oh, well.
I was either off or on a pumper.
Well, so we had the elevator class, and one of our classmates was giving the class. And so I'm sitting there talking to him, and I'm asking him questions about, this and that, and this lever and that lever, and this button and that button, and all the, things, because I'm trying to understand. And he goes, yeah, it should work like that. It should work like that.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
It's supposed to.
That's the design.
He goes, in theory, but remember, that's just in theory. He goes, we're going to run calls. He goes, and you've seen it already. He goes, you run calls where you do all the right steps and it doesn't freaking work.
Yep.
So.
Or you get lucky, you go stick the key in there and the door's open.
Yeah.
Look, I got it.
Oh, that was one yesterday. We messed with this door for probably 15 minutes. And then another guy walked up, and we're pushing on this part, and he reaches over and he pulls this thing up, and the doors just open up, and we're like, damn, we're idiots.
I mean, you try and be as good as you can be. I know I could be better. We could all be better.
Yeah. No argument there. Like, I realized, and I've been out of the safety officer position for 3 months. 4 months. And that's what I was doing yesterday, working overtime. And we were running calls that would have been second nature to me whenever I was doing that. And it's I have to stop and think now, because I'm not in that mode anymore of this is my job and this is what I do, because it's different. Like, I'm a truck captain now, and I look at different things whenever I pull up on a scene.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking at, because I trust that trust that the safety officer is going to do the safety officer job. I'm worried about my guys and doing what we need to do instead of worrying about what everybody else needs to do.
Yeah, you're focused on your task now.
Yeah.
Just like when you run an elevator rescue and you've been on a pumper your entire career. What's your job on an elevator rescue as the pumper?
EMS, baby.
Stand there with the EMS bag and be manpower. You let the truck guys do the truck thing. You let the rescue guys do the rescue thing. Like, anybody hurt? No? Okay, we'll see you guys later. And then you get promoted and you go to work as a safety officer, and hey, here's this ring of keys. It's only got 100 keys on it. I've never held these. Never seen them. I've seen them. But it was a real learning experience.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had a great teacher. Like, yeah, man, this one's this, and just every day. Every day.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it wasn't you.
I didn't teach you shit.
Just drive real fast that way.
Pretty much. Hey, man, shut the power off for me.
No, I don't want to do that.
That's cool, too.
I don't like fucking. I don't like electricity.
Yeah.
Stand this pool of water, turn that off. Okay. Here goes something. But this goes back to what we're talking about with trying to, operate in that gray area. You got to shut the power off. We got to turn the gas off. Because we're waiting on the utility companies to get there to pull the meters or disconnect from the pole and all that stuff. Still got to be safe on the inside. But it's the gray area.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the job is inherently unsafe, right? I mean,
You try and do it as safe as possible.
Yeah, but you take steps to mitigate as much risk as possible. Because you have to. You can't just go willy fucking nilly and,
yeah,
because that's how you get people hurt and killed. Yeah, you are breathing loud today. Holy shit.
I'm all stopped up.
I feel like the camera zoomed out once we started on you.
Yeah, I'm not looking at it.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it's all right. Nobody wants to see this.
I mean, Anyway, what else do you got?
Not a whole lot.
Well, you want to talk about...
I'm just a rambler, man.
You want to talk about mental health for a minute?
Yeah, we want to talk about.
Well, I mean, in our area, we just had 2 suicides. Firefighters. Like, again.
You just got to keep... That's the thing. Like, got to be like Joe Dirt, man. Just got to keep moving forward. Keep on keeping on.
You just read that.
I did.
You read that shit off my shirt.
Yeah. So, and what I mean is, we had some really bad things happen, and we got to process it, and we got to make sure that we keep having the conversation, those hard conversations, because your goal is 0. That's what we want, but the only way to get anywhere close to that is keep having those conversations, keep trying to help people. Keep trying to change that stigma of it's weak to ask for help. Because unfortunately, it's still there.
Yeah, it's still there. And I mean, obviously the people that are passionate about it and trying to change it and all that, like you can get impatient because while we see the changes happening, it's not happening like fast enough. In our opinions, because we see where we need to go, but it's like we've talked about a million fucking times. Like, how do you steer an aircraft carrier? It's like 1 degree at a time. Like, you're not making fast turns, and that's any organization. Like, to be able to switch and pivot, and especially whenever there's so many layers to the decision making process. Whenever you're talking about, a fire department or a police department, because you can have everybody on board. Yes, this is a great idea. Yes, we need to do this. Yes, we need to do this. And then it doesn't get done because of, money, or they can't agree on the way that it should be done, and then we end up back where we're at. And I don't know what the answer is.
I don't either. It's man, I read something in this book the other day, and I can't remember where it was, but it was perfect for kind of what we're talking about and making those little changes in people development, essentially.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it, right? I mean, you change your crew. You
So the
you
first thing you got to
change.
do is change you. That's the first
Well,
step, right?
right.
So then once you find your weaknesses and your strengths and you start working on both of them, then you're able to affect change when it comes to your crew. And then so it's building. Let's put this. So book by John Maxwell, right? 5 levels of leadership, and basically it culminates in level 4 and level 5. Level 5 being the pinnacle, and then level 4 is you're developing leaders. So you got to start with yourself. We'll just go into the first pages here. Hi, people. What's up? Okay, here we go. So, and this is talking about leadership, but you can apply it to mental health too. So the first level is the position. So you get a position of leadership. You're promoted into it. You're hired into it. Whatever. People follow you because you're in that position. So in this position, they don't. I want to explain it in an easier way. They're following you because of the position you hold. You have power because of that position. You have authority.
Yeah.
All right. So now, as you're working on that, you're building towards level 2, which is permission. And this is where they follow you because they want to, because you've done something for them, or you've shown that you're a true leader, and that kind of stuff. Then you go into production, which is level 3. People follow you because of what you've done for the organization, making changes, just kind of being who you are and building on that and your reputation and all that. Then you get to people development, which is level 4. This is when you start developing people to be leaders. And then you have level 5, which is the pinnacle. People follow you because of who you are and what you represent. So if you're talking like mental health, you got to fix yourself first. If you're having issues or you don't believe in it, I get it. It's a hard pill to swallow. But you fix that, and now you're speaking out of a level of almost authority because you've been through a process. And then you go on to your next levels. And pretty soon you're developing people with your crew who are starting to buy into the mental health and, oh, that stigma is bullshit. So now we're going to take this elsewhere because you start developing them and they start understanding why mental health is important and how we can get better going forward, how we can make our organization better. And all that started was in your office and then to your station or your house, and then to the battalion. And then it just keeps growing and growing. Pretty soon you've created a whole bunch of people who are leaders and who are developing other leaders or mental health advocates.
Peer support.
Yeah, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
I mean, the book goes a lot more depth, and I'm not going to do all that, but he's got John Maxwell's got a 30-minute deal. He's got a bunch of them on YouTube where he talks about these, and they're really good. Definitely something worth looking into with leadership. But it can, and of course, he's talking about corporations, leadership there. We're a little different. We're kind of that outlier, a little. We're the country road.
Yeah.
The scenic route.
And I think what makes the fire service different, at least in my experience, is, well, and I think it could be anything, is just because you are in a position doesn't mean people are going to follow you. And I think it's especially true in like the fire service and all of that. Like they might do what you say, but it's not.
You're talking level 1 here.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily like they're actually going to follow you.
Yeah, you're in a position of authority.
Yeah.
That's level 1. Because so now you're the officer of the company. You give an order. It's got to be followed, right? Unless it's unsafe.
I mean, yes, technically.
Okay, that's authority.
Yeah.
What you're looking for is to get to level 2, and that's where it's permission. So they're following you because they want to, and then you just keep building and building and building. This isn't something you're going to do in a week. This is years. It takes time. Like he talked about his idol, and he got to meet him. It was John Wooden. So the guy Maxwell played basketball. I don't think he ever played in college. I don't know, but how he got to meet John Wooden and spent, I think it was the last 7 years of Wooden's life, they were friends. And interviewed him multiple times, asked him questions, always about kind of leadership. And the end of the book, like last 10 pages, is all about how he applies his 5 levels to John Wooden and how John Wooden reached the pinnacle because of how he did things. It's just something you got to read. It was really good. And I like John Wooden. I'm a huge fan of John Wooden.
Well,
I don't
yeah,
like
if you're-
UCLA, but I like John Wooden.
well, if you're a fan of basketball at all, you're familiar with John Wooden, and like what he did at UCLA has never been done since
No, and it won't.
in any sports. Like, it doesn't matter.
And he didn't recruit just based on, oh, you're the best player. No, it was a lot more than that. Your personality. Like he talked about how Wooden went to one recruit's house. He had the scholarship papers in hand, and when he had an assistant with him, when the assistant asked when they left, how come he didn't sign the kid? He's like, because the way he talked to his mom. If he's that disrespectful to his mom, how's he going to be to the coach and on this team? So a lot of it's the content of your character.
Yeah.
And things like that. So you might not have been the best player, but he was really good at getting the most out of people or sitting his star player because, yeah, you're the best player, but the team's not the best when you're out there.
Yeah.
Things like that. But when you're talking mental health, it's all about building on it. And you gotta lead by example. Talking the talk is great. But you gotta walk the walk too.
Yeah. I mean, you're 100% right.
And that's what a lot of the book is about, is leading by example. You know, if you're not willing to do it, how are you going to ask somebody else to do it?
Yeah. Well, I think that touches on pretty much every time we've had a talk about leadership, and everybody that we've had on that's talked about leadership. It's the same thing every time.
I have to go through and still make notes on the book. I haven't written out my note sheet yet.
Oh, man.
I highlighted a whole bunch of stuff. I just read the book to read it. But, because I watched the speech. Jane had it for one of her classes. She's like, hey, you want to watch this? I'm like, yeah. I've heard of the guy. And we watched it, and I was like, I really liked it. I think he was talking to like Chick-fil-A or something, like their corporate side.
Yeah.
Because he was friends with the owner and CEO of Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. Which is fantastic. Freaking success story. If you've watched the Fat Electrician's history on Chick-fil-A of how it actually expanded and all of that stuff. Like, they're the most profitable, like, fast food chain ever by far, and they've got like way less like stores or whatever than McDonald's and Burger King and all of those places. So
I didn't know that.
yeah, I mean, they don't make more money, but money per chain or money per store is like way more, and they're closed on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But it's all because of, and like he broke it down of like, because they keep their menu simple, so their overhead is really low. Like, they treat their employees a certain way. They do things like, everything is like,
It's about
this,
respect.
yeah, this is how we're going to do it because this is what we're doing. And like, I guess the guy that started out with like I don't know, it was almost like a bar and grill type thing. And like, just like one little place. And
You have to look at it.
yeah.
But I mean, he references in the book a whole lot of different people. You know, like the one guy, I'm bad with names, but he was a CEO of GE forever. And how they made changes and how they stayed on top for so long. And the biggest part was developing leaders. I mean, mental health to me is no different. It's the same thing.
Well, no, you're 100% right. Because if you don't, and that's kind of getting into that whole peer support, like culture change of things. Because if you don't start branching out and having other people do it, doesn't matter how much you do, because you have to develop those people who are going to do things, because you can't be everywhere at once.
No, and that's what so the fourth level is people development, right? Yeah. people development. People follow because of what you have done for them. So now you're developing leaders, or what we're talking about, mental health advocates. So you've been through the first 3 levels, like you've mastered them, but you can go backwards too. And anytime you start over with a new crew or whoever, you're starting at 0 again.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing this constantly. You move companies, you hire people, whatever. Because he's talking about building leaders. So the people development. Yeah, I'm trying to find the. Keep going. I got to find it.
No. Well, it's
'Cause
kind of like,
I don't have little sticky notes in here yet.
well, it's kind of like what I was saying was like that goes along the whole Jocko thing of the decentralized command of empowering your people to do things while you're not there and to make decisions. And I mean, you have to do that because, like I said, you can't be everywhere at once, because if you try to make every decision, then you become a micromanager.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people that you're trying to develop that are, because nobody is going to just stay in this job forever, right?
No.
You're going to retire eventually. You're not going to be here anymore. So you have to basically train your replacements. And it's incumbent upon you to train more than one, because you never know what's going to happen.
So like he talks about, growth occurs when it's intentional. So you have to intentionally make yourself grow or make other people grow. Give them a task, have them go learn about something, put them in a position that makes them uncomfortable, and see how they grow. And then you go back and coach them. And we're talking leadership now.
Yeah.
So like,
so you got to be careful with that. I'm sure maybe you'll explain it, but you have to be careful with that because you can't give them a task that they're unable to accomplish. You want to stretch them.
You're setting them up for success, not failure.
Yeah.
But even failure is not a bad thing. Now you can't lose some credibility, but so you have to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And he talks about that, like, don't let them go out and just fail to fail.
Yeah. Well,
That's a dick move.
You and I both have been to the trainings where it's stump the chump.
Yeah.
And we've taken the test where it's stump the chump. And it's about making you fucking fail. There's no way that you can win. There's no way you can make the right decision to do the right thing. And I 100% disagree with that type of training and that type of leadership.
Let's look at this on a fire department scale. So you've been on a rescue or a truck for years, let's say. So you've been doing extrication drills every quarter for, let's say, 5 years. You've never led it. So now, me as your company officer, like, hey, we're doing extrication drill in 2 weeks on Monday. You're leading it. That's it. You've been through this how many times? So now I'm going to put you in the position of you're the leader. You're teaching it, because that's uncomfortable if you've never done it. And then you're teaching your peers, which is extremely hard. And you're going over the same things that you've been going over, and adding different things as you're learning over the years. But now I feel as your company officer, your leader, that you are ready for this. And you're going to succeed because of what we've taught you over the years. That's what I'm talking about. When you put them in an uncomfortable position, and you're going to sink or swim, right? Well, chances are you're going to swim. You just have to know it, and I have to give. And you as a leader, you have to give that person that confidence. Same thing with advancing hose lines. Something simple, right? Well, it's simple because we've been doing it for how long?
20 years.
Okay. So when you're a brand new person, that's not so simple. So you work with them. Here it is. We've been doing it for 6 months. You've got a pretty good hold on it. Okay. Teach me. Oh, hey, this new class just came out. We've got a couple new people in our district. Teach them. Well, you're right there with them, but you're letting them run it. And that's how you're growing that person. You put them in an uncomfortable situation, and they succeed, and they gain confidence. And it just keeps growing and building and building. So, like here, he talks about, how do you make an organization better? Invest in the people who work in it. This is all him. This is all John. Yeah. All John Maxwell. Anyway. So, companies get better when their people get better. That's why investing in people always gives a greater return to the organization. Everything rises and falls on leadership. The more leaders an organization has, the greater its horsepower. The better leaders an organization has, the greater its potential. You cannot overinvest in people. Every time you increase the ability of a person in the organization, you increase the ability to fulfill the vision. Everything gets better when good leaders are leading the organization and creating a positive, productive work environment.
I mean, if you're looking for disagreement, like it's the same thing as we were talking about working out a minute ago.
And that's what we're kind of talking about with putting somebody in an uncomfortable position. Now, this also works in mental health because that's an uncomfortable conversation to have, and to help people realize, oh, hey, this is something we got to take seriously.
Yeah, and I think, and the thing with mental health is there's so many different. Whenever it comes to we'll talk about the fire service in particular, right? There's so many different aspects of it, and getting people to understand the intricacies of just the fact that we can run the same call, right? We can be on the same crew, we can run the same call, and it doesn't bother you at all. Doesn't affect you one bit. But for me, it was fucking terrible. And it really affects me. Having people understand that aspect of it is, for me, I think, one of the hardest things. Because they don't get, it's like, well, it didn't bother me, so why would it bother them?
And that's the hardest thing to make people realize, is that it affects everybody differently, and that you have to be open-minded.
No, there's no open-mindedness. It's either this or that. Which is weird that we are, in the fire service, it seems like we are kind of that way. It's either this or that, but 99% of our job is, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this other thing, it could be, and like we want to figure it out.
You know how many times I've walked into the ER with a patient when I was working on the ambulance? I was like, what's going on? I was like, I don't have a fucking idea, man. Like, I don't know. Good luck. Give him a little show back. Good luck, doc. See you later. Because I don't fucking know. I threw the kitchen sink at it. I don't have a fucking clue.
Well, what's that saying? You like, it's the practice of medicine.
It is the practice of medicine. Like, you just do what you can do. You're not always going to figure it out. But then when you go back later, like, hey, did you figure that out? Well, usually they have an answer for you. Like, yeah. Then they call you an asshole, but then you learn something. So the next time you run it, like, the first time I ran a person who had an allergic reaction to lisinopril, fucked me up.
Yeah, I guess I've never.
Yeah, there's a small percentage of the population who will react to lisinopril where their airway and their tongue will swell.
Huh.
So what do you do? What do you do when somebody is going into anaphylactic shock or anaphylactic issues or having an allergic reaction or
Epi?
Yeah, it doesn't fucking work. And you're like, oh shit, what do I do? Or the first time I ran a dystonic reaction. So if you have mental health issues and you take lithium, you can have a dystonic reaction. So we walk in and everybody's like, I don't have a fucking idea, man, because they're just locked in place. Benadryl.
Really?
Yep. Fucking weird. And you look like a goddamn genius because you're like, I got this. IV, Benadryl. Hey, man, what's up? Oh, I feel so much better. Yeah. Let's go to the hospital so you can take a nap.
That is so weird.
It's one of those things that stuck with me in medical school. Because it's not something that happens often either. Neither one of those two.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the antidote for lisinopril.
Well, I mean, in reality, it's that old, you're never going to run the same call twice. Everything's slightly different. There's going to be a lot of similarities with stuff, but it's never going to be the same twice. That's why we have to be adaptable and think on our feet, which, that's the whole mental health thing is, like, you got to understand many different aspects of it.
Yeah. Just like with being a medic, you put the tools in the tool bag, or as a firefighter, put the tools in your tool bag, because you never know when you got to pull out that old dusty, crusty, rusty wrench. Like, aha, I got it.
Yeah.
You just never know. And so you keep putting tools in your toolbox constantly.
Yeah. Well, if the only tool that you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah. It's,
It doesn't work, people. Doesn't work.
so there's plenty of people out there that don't think mental health is a real issue.
Yeah.
And you'll never convince them otherwise until something happens. And that dog is going crazy.
Yeah, Rachel probably put her in her kennel whenever she left. Yeah, we're finishing up anyway, so I'm not super worried about it. If it picks up, Faith got put in her kennel because she can't be left out because she likes to counter surf. So, and we didn't hit the pause button and bring her down here where she would have just slept, like on the other episode that you guys just recently saw.
So maybe we should have that conversation with Rachel about, hey, when you leave, bring the dog down. Just open the door slowly and quietly. The dog comes in, says hi. We pet the dog, and she'll go lay down.
Yeah, or we just bring her down here to start out. So
Or that.
It's
I don't care.
not an issue, but
I like dogs.
oh yeah, I love dogs too. That's why I have two of them. So, what was I going to say before we got sidetracked with
We're talking about tools in the toolbox,
tool bags
and people being open-minded, and like you're just
okay, I got
you're
it.
hard pressed to change some people. You just never will. So even John Maxwell talks about in his book. Some people stay on level 1 forever. Some people stay on level 2 or 3. They're just not able to go up any further.
Yeah. Well, so I know what I was going to say, or I know what triggered a thought was you're talking about. See, some people are just never going to believe that mental health in these career fields are an issue. And my question to that, or my statement to that, I guess you'd call it a question, is how much proof do you need? How many cops, how many firefighters, how many veterans have to commit suicide before it becomes evident to people that it's a freaking issue? Like more of us have died by suicide than in the line of duty. It is the number one cause of death and has been for the last few years. The numbers are not going down.
So it depends on how you want to look it up. It goes back to confirmation bias. If you want to look up certain things, you're only going to find certain things. So if you don't believe that mental health is a real issue, whether it's police, fire, military, or just in general society, well, then you're going to find all the information that says it's bullshit and that it's not a real thing and it's just a hoax, or however you want to word it. Because that shit's out there.
I haven't seen that, but I'll take your word for it.
It's the Starbucks rule. Is Starbucks good for you or bad for you? Well, it depends on how you search it. Is Starbucks good for you? You find a whole lot of articles saying yes. If you search is it bad for you, you're going to find a whole lot of articles saying yes, it's bad for you. So who's right? Who's wrong? Now, I'm of the opinion of mental health is very real, and you got to take care of it before you go down a rabbit hole you can't get out of.
Yeah. And the ability to take care of it and the things that need to be done in the grand scheme of things, minor.
Yeah.
Minor.
And you can only power through for so long.
Yeah. It's not like the roadmap is already laid out of what needs to be done to fix it. And it's not like it's going to cost these departments millions and millions and millions of dollars. It will end up saving millions of dollars and lives. Because think about just, you got a 20-year veteran, 10-year, whatever, however many years. How much money did it cost you to train them? How much money did you pay out in their insurance? How much money do you have invested in these people that, well, now they either because of PTSD or depression or whatever job related, they've either committed suicide or they've just quit. And now you have to train their replacement, which you're going to have to train their replacement anyway. Eventually. But if you're talking about you're losing people at 5 years, at 7 years, at 10 years, at 15 years.
So unfortunately, when you start getting into the technical terms and it sounds worse than it is, it's a return on investment.
Right.
Whether we like it or not, military personnel, cops, firefighters, nurses, doctors, EMTs, medics, you have to invest in them. Invest in your people. And that includes your mental health. And the return is going to be a better, stronger organization. Fuck, we just read it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you invest in your people,
A business degree will help you understand some of that.
well, that's
I'm just kidding.
no, a leadership degree would help you understand that.
I've got one of those.
If you invest in your people's mental and physical health, because in my opinion they're linked,
Yes.
right? I think I wholeheartedly believe that they are. If you invest in those two aspects, you're going to see job satisfaction go up. You're going to see less workplace injuries. You're going to see less sick time, all of those things, which is going to save your organization money.
He's got a section in here that talks about morale. And
Yeah.
I need to find it and then mark it.
Yeah. So if you do those things, output the money up front that you need to output to improve the quality of work life, basically is what we're talking about, for your employees, it's going to pay dividends on the back end. You're going to have less of this department hopping that we've seen recently.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have less people just quitting and leaving and being completely. Now, look, is it going to solve all of those? No, it is not. You are still going to, through the process, there's no selection process that's 100%.
No.
You are still going to have people who come on who might do one shift and go, fuck this ain't for me, and leave. That's going to happen. And it is what it is. You're not going to change that. You're going to have people that work 10 years and then go leave and they're out of the career field for whatever reason. Their spouse gets a better job in another state and they got to move. That shit happens.
Yep.
But you're not going to have it at the rate that you have right now.
But even if that happens, if you invest in your people in every aspect, you'll never be wrong. And whatever you invested in them, they're going to take with them. So if that's stronger mental health values, that goes with them. Leadership qualities goes with them. They might get on somewhere else, make that department better. It might be a neighboring department, which then is going to make your department better by proxy. It's all about investing in people and making them better, whether it's leadership, mental health, training. I mean, I don't care however you want to apply it. You're never wrong by investing in your people in the proper ways. Mental health, physical health, education, training. Those are the 4 big ones.
You can change the world.
And all it takes is a little bit of respect.
Yeah, a little bit of give a shit. Really. I mean, care about your profession. Care about the people that you are responsible for.
I think that goes back to a question that was asked in one of my classes was, is the fire chief a politician? Is the fire chief a politician? Whether you want to hear it or not, yes, they are. Sorry, you are. You are the face of the department when you go down to City Hall or whoever your department reports to. You're talking to the politicians. You're the ones getting things done. You're the ones answering the questions. Sorry. Or if if you have a commissioner or however your department's set up, you're a politician, and you have to fight for those things. And it's not just a line item on a budget sheet.
Yeah. I agree.
A little bit of funding early on saves huge dividends on the back end.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to be able to convince the politicians.
And that's the problem. You might have the best academic paper ever written, ready to go. You had it. It was written by the smartest people in the world, and it's got every piece of data ever in there. They read the abstract, a little 1 to 2 paragraphs, and that's it. That's all they read. So you better make it great and be prepared to sit there and fight them.
Yep.
Because to me, the job as a fire chief, a police chief, the commandant of the Marines, or the general 5-star general in the military. I don't know all the ranks in the military. Forgive me, but that is your job to fight with the politicians and take care of your people.
I'm a fan of the commandant of the Marine Corps. Yeah, if they can pass the standard, they're in. If
Yeah.
they can't, fuck off.
No, he ain't wrong.
No, he's not. And that's the thing that the politicians don't understand is like we have to have standards in these jobs because when we don't have standards, people die.
A lot of people die.
Yeah. The people that vote for you and put you in office, they're going to die because we've got fucking lax to no standards. It's like, look, like some things you just can't skimp on. There's the old adage, you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want the bargain basement budget,
That's what politicians look at. And companies do it too. Who's the lowest bidder? Which, just because you're the lowest bidder doesn't mean you're the best option. Sorry. You might be. You know what? You might be. But chances are you're not.
yeah, 100% agree.
But invest in your people, and you'll never be wrong.
You want to make that your closing thought?
That's pretty much a closing thought. Invest in your people, and you're never wrong. Your organization will be better. Your people will be better. Your community will be better. I mean, there's no limit to how far that goes when you invest to make people better.
Yeah.
But make sure you take a look in the mirror first. Because if you want to make your people and your organization better, like Michael Jackson said, you got to start with the man in the mirror.
You didn't need to reference him. Well, and we've kind of talked about that before of you can't lead anybody else if you can't lead yourself.
Yeah.
So
Make sure your changes are positive.
Yeah, you don't want to do change just to change.
And when you're investing in your people, you will stumble. You will go backwards. It's a natural progression of growing. Just don't let that define you and don't stop.
Well, yeah, you never truly fail until you stop trying.
Yep. And when you stop trying and you stop learning, that's when you're done and you failed.
All right. Well, hey everybody, thanks for stopping by and listening to us ramble and talk about several different topics. Look, if you are struggling, reach out. There are resources out there. If you don't know what the resources are, send us an email. Send us a thing on Instagram. I don't care. Just get in touch. If you know somebody that's struggling, reach out to them. Let them know that you care. Take care of each other. Leaders, get to know your people. Know what they're dealing with. It's supposed to be a brotherhood in all of this, and we've lost it somewhere along the way. I think we need to get it back a little bit. So, take care of yourself. Take care of each other's, and yeah, thanks for stopping by. We will see you next time.